Good afternoon, everybody. And yes, for those of you that are wondering, I do dance to my own theme music too. Apparently, it's like this thing I have. If there's music playing in the intro, I have to do a little shimmy. I don't know why. It's just how I roll. So it is Wednesday, September 14th at 3 o'clock p.m., which means it is time for Women in Business. If you are joining us today, boy, you picked a good one to be here for because there's going to be somebody else other than me on the show. Woo! We're really excited by this. Actually, I am really excited by this. So I'm going to bring her in because we all know her and love her. And she was just going to take a drink. And then I said, oops, I'm going to bring her in.
I want the music. Da, 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 da.
Ta-da! So for those of you that don't know her, Hot Mess Me is also known as Carolyn Cagle, who is the owner of Strict Knits Embroidery. Did I get that right this time?
You did.
Yay! Yeah. Yay! And she is here to talk with me today about all things social media with an emphasis on Google Business. Which I'm really glad she is here to talk about that because I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about Google Business.
Well, shame on me. Neither do I. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah. Oh, then this is going to be a really short show. Yay. Stop making me laugh. This is not good.
Okay. All right.
Or don't stop making me laugh because actually it's fun. But anyway, see, I'm getting all red. It's just, shenanigans will ensue. It's going to happen.
I'm trying to keep it together. I really am.
Anyway, we have to stop being shenaniganish.
Okay.
Shenaniganish. Is that even a word? I don't know if that's a word, but we really need to present some information here. So one of the things that I want to start by talking about is the whole idea, and I saw it yesterday again on somebody who was doing one of those, take my class and I'll teach you how to sell everything and be a major success on social media. And it's only, $395. Well, this is the free class, but then you have to buy my program. And then, And one of the things that supposedly this person was going to teach you in the free class was the one social media platform that everyone needs to be on. If there is one thing that I could eradicate from the social media world, it would be that. Yeah. That the idea that there's one platform that's going to work for everybody.
That's like saying that we only sell one pair of shoes.
And
that's the only pair of shoes you'll ever need because there's no, exactly. It's a fit. You have to have the fit. And some people don't fit well in certain social media platforms. They don't translate well into it. Right.
Well, and the problem is that it gives people this false sense of, I don't have to do the work to figure out where my audience is. I can just go to this place and I'll be a success. And it's like, you got to do the work. You got to get to know your audience. You got to understand where they are.
Right. It's all like, as much as we hate the Kardashian life, and what they've built, their whole entire life is fit on that shoe. Only they have a million pairs of shoes.
Right.
And for what we don't like about them, the amount of work that they put into it, even manufacturing a lifestyle, is pretty impressive. And in our businesses, we're not manufacturing a lifestyle. We're not going to, create something that we're not, but we're also going to have to set it up so that there's a reason to come visit us. Basically.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That's another pervasive myth, definitely, is that if I'm on social media, I've done my job. If I have a profile, that's enough.
Okay, I'm done.
And it's it's like, hey, look, I put up one post and I have a profile, so I have done my job. And it always amazes me the people who come up to me like after I do a class or I do a seminar somewhere, and they'll say, well, I tried X platform or I tried social media and it just didn't work. And I'll say, well, what did you do? Well, I had a profile for 3 weeks and I put up 3 posts and nobody responded. And I said, well, did you try to connect with anyone? What kind of post did you put up? And then they just look at me like, oh, that's way too much work. I don't want to. And I'm like, do you know how long it has taken me to develop the connections and the reach that I have on social media? I mean, what, 17 years now?
Right. It's the equivalent of the guy who's set up his first corn stand at the end of a dirt road not far from us. And he is like, I didn't sell any corn last year. And they said, well, where were you? And he goes, I'm down there on the end of the dirt road. And I said, huh? You know?
Gee, let's think about this for a minute.
So if you're putting only one format out or one post out, you're at the end of the dirt road with your corn stand.
Yep, you're at the end of the dirt road going, hey, I have corn.
I have corn.
Would you like some corn? But right. It's just, constant, and it amazes me how much, I don't even know what I want to call it. I feel like bad information is what I want to say, but I feel like that's kind of condemning people for maybe not understanding how things work, or, and there are some people who are deliberately putting out bad information because they want to sell their class or sell their whatever it is that they want you to buy. So.
Right. But, I kind of find, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I'm wondering if other people feel that. But when I see those things pop up, and they pop up and they say, you should be doing this and doing this, I kind of feel like it's social media shaming in the sense that I'm not doing enough. I'm not working hard enough at this. I don't, and so you get sometimes you get a little angst, but that's with anything, it's like, when you see the, you don't have life insurance. Oh my God, that kind of thing. So it creates a false sense of panic that you're not doing something right. Whereas doing something, don't get me wrong, doing something is something. It's just the something has to be, an effort and consistency and, time into it. But those things, when they come up with those, like, if you do this and you're like, oh God, I'm not doing that. No wonder why it's a pain in the butt,
Well, I think you have to find a balance. I will agree with you that doing something is better than doing nothing.
Correct.
I will definitely agree with you about that. But I think there's also, if you want to do it well, you're going to have to invest the time. That's just the reality of the situation. And there are some people that they're on and they get a like every once in a while, they're on a particular platform and they get a like or a whatever, and that's enough for them and they don't want any more. But if you want to sell on social media, it's like selling in, I don't want to call it reality because social media is reality of a sort, but it's like selling in the real world. If somebody walks into your store and you're behind the counter and you're on your phone and you're ignoring them and you don't talk to them and they say, oh, this is really pretty, and you don't say thank you, they're not going to buy from you. It's the same thing if they come to your profile and they make a comment and you don't respond, or they your thing and you don't, respond back. It's the same thing. You have to have interaction. That's where I'm going with that.
Okay. Well, and that's true because there's a personality thing to it too. There's a salesman personality, and there's the people that are not all that social. So social media doesn't, and they might, like, the mystery for me, I mean, we're talking about social media. The mystery for me is LinkedIn. I don't get it. I mean, I'm probably missing a big factor. I don't get it. I have a profile out there. I don't work it. But like today, we're going to talk about Google Business, and people go, oh, I don't use that. And so it's all a learning curve and comfort.
Oh, yeah.
It's all learning curve and comfort. Correct.
Yeah. And I mean, I think one of the things that people need to understand that maybe they don't is we have this catch-all term called social media, and
Mhm.
we lump all of it. You know, we lump Twitter, we lump LinkedIn, we lump TikTok. I can't say lump apparently. Facebook, whatever, you know, Pinterest. We put them all under this umbrella called social media, and we kind of imply that they're all the same thing,
They're not.
and they're not at all.
No.
And I mean, honestly, for LinkedIn, I took a class with Jay Bassell at ISS, or excuse me, Impressions Expo Fort Worth last year.
Okay.
And he taught me a lot about LinkedIn, and I am using it more. And I'm finding it's a great place to make connections, but my need for connections is different than maybe someone who like you who's selling a service or a product.
Mhm.
I'm just making connections because I'm looking for people to be on the show. I'm looking for people to collaborate with. I'm, you know, stuff like that. I'm not really looking necessarily to sell anybody my services or what I'm doing, but it's great for connecting, for networking, so to speak. And
Right.
I'm not an in-person networker a lot, but I will on LinkedIn.
Okay. Well, that's like for
So,
me. I mean, everybody knows that I'm pretty proficient on the Facebook end of it, and then Instagram is something that I've had to step it up because the fact that Instagram, excuse me, is like a little more on the creatives end.
mhm.
You know, you're not going to go to Instagram to sell life insurance plans. You know,
You would hope not.
you would hope not,
Mhm.
unless you had some really good graphics. But
You'd
but
have to have some really, really good graphics to make that work.
so it's all based on where you need to
Mhm.
settle and then kind of branch out from there. But yeah, it's different because at my Facebook, I have multiple pages, which is something that I need to edit, and then I've got to start my So Carolyn page that is going to be a whole different persona,
Right.
that kind of thing. So then I know that So Carolyn probably belongs on Instagram as opposed to so much on Facebook, because that's a different audience, but it'll still be there because you can cross
Mhm.
post between the two of them. I'm talking like an
Right.
Italian and I'm almost 100% Norwegian. What the heck?
Well, you know, normally that's me that's doing that, so I'm feeling good that it's somebody else for once. But I think you made a really good point, and what I like about what you said is that you figured out what kind of audience you want to reach and what kind of feeling you want your profile to have.
Right.
And you're picking the venues that fit. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of people don't do that. And
No,
that's a
they just
problem.
right. And then they're kind of lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so
Yeah.
that
And that's when they start, you know, kind of flailing around and grasping for these people who are maybe who say that they're experts, but maybe aren't experts. That's the nice way to put it.
go
And I
read
mean,
their
I'm
go read
fully
their
aware that
stats.
I stand up and tell people how to use social media all the time. And I don't claim to have all the answers. I've just been doing it for a long time,
Right, right,
you
right.
know,
Yeah, yeah, but
but
you
I don't
understand
know. It just,
the
go
process
ahead.
and mechanics of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right.
And I think there's something to be said for taking the time to figure out what it is that you want. A lot of people go on social media because they think they should be on social media,
Oh, yeah.
and they don't really know what they expect to get from it. And I mean,
Right.
I think, you know, I think if you just take a minute and go, okay, what do I want to make? Do I want to get sales? Do I want to make connections? Do I just want to be seen? You
Mhm.
know, do I want to show off my work? What, and it could be all of those things, and but you need to know. And I think a lot of people don't take the time to figure that out.
Correct, and they also, you kind of work in your comfort level. And then then you can kind of branch out as you get comfortable with this one. You go, oh, this worked really well. I wonder how this would work over here. Or do I need to tick on that a little more?
Mhm.
Or, and the biggest thing though is if it becomes a job where you're sitting down and it's a job, and honestly, it is a job. If you look at how many hours are put into social media, like for me, if I got paid for it, I'd be in the Bahamas right now. But it is essential for the workings of what I'm doing. So
Right.
it's part of it. So that said, my husband just left. So hopefully when Gary walks in and he sees me on Facebook and he goes, when the hell do you work? It's like, I'm marketing. I'm working.
Well, you just made me laugh because one of my jobs is to be professionally on social media.
Right.
And to teach about it. And, that wasn't anything that I was ever like, when I grow up, I want to be on social media professionally,
right.
But it's kind of what happened.
Right.
And it is a job. I mean,
right.
If you're going to do it, and no, I don't want to say that. I was going to say if you're going to do it well. And I don't want to say that because I think there are people who do it well within the time limits that they have.
Everybody.
So I don't want to say
anybody.
that.
Yeah, I'm not knocking anybody.
Because that's pejorative and I don't want to go there. But
right.
I think there is how do I want to say this the right way? There is a minimum level of investment that you need to make to do it reasonably well. Let's put it that way.
Right.
And, and that will vary I'm not going to say you have to spend 10 hours a week or whatever, because that's bullshit. Excuse my language, but
right. No, but that's also too not fun for you.
Well, yeah. And
it shows, it translates. It translates.
And it also depends on, like I said, what your goals are.
Right.
For some people, it might be enough that they're just there and people see their profiles.
Mm-hmm.
If your goal is growing your group or growing your page or, making sales, then you're going to have to put a little more effort into it to get the return that you want. But it's like anything else. I mean, it's the same thing. If you want to be a contract embroidery shop, you're probably not going to try to do that with one single needle machine. It's just not.
Wait, what?
That's not how it works.
What's wrong with you? Don't you want to work 64 hours a week?
No, I don't. I really, really don't. And having been to and seen and worked for somewhat a contract embroidery shop, I know that they have, multi-head, huge machines. But
look at my world behind me right now is everybody's sitting idle.
Well, yeah, but that's because one of them needs a doctor. So
needs a doctor is right.
So, what can you do about that? But all right. So I want to talk about Google Business because I did a little research before we started this today, but I will be honest. Google Business has never been something that I've particularly been attracted to because I've never really worked with or for anyone who worked locally.
Okay.
And Google Business, from what I understand, is for people that are customer facing.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't necessarily say have a brick and mortar, but says they work with customers.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. When you're with Google Business, you are, a physical service that people purchase from you. And whether or not you have brick or mortar, or it's in your home, or you're driving around in a food truck, it is something that they're literally touching. When you're done, you got a product that you're touching. Now, there are services also, obviously, for, lawyers, doctors, because basically what it is, it's our version of the Yellow Pages. And those of you under, 50.
I was going to say, everybody who's like 30 and under is going,
Right.
what?
What's the Yellow Pages? All right. The thing that your parents sat you on so you could eat at the dinner table is the Yellow Pages.
The thing that used to show up on your front porch every year,
Right.
and towards the end, you'd look at it and go, I don't need this, and you'd throw it in the wastebasket.
Right. So so what it is basically the Yellow Pages of now. And on Google Business, you get to show your wares, you get to post just like you were in social media. You can go ahead and you can make a post every day, or you can do it monthly, or you can run sales. And the other thing that's key about it is that anybody who is sitting around at their office, at wherever, they've got a cell phone, and when they need something, they're sitting there and they're going to go, for me, embroidery shops near me. And it goes into Maps. Now, Google Business is run off of Google Maps also right now. So you can go into Maps and do all your editing right there. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But your customer is using that to find you. When they do that, how your ratings are, like when we all see it, nobody's going to go to a restaurant that's got 1 star. That's like,
you wouldn't
okay,
think so.
Right. I don't want salmonella today, but wow, these guys got, 5 stars. So, and maybe it's a bad rap, there's that too. You get one person that reviews and they give you a bad review and it's stuck with you. There's ways to get those off too. But what it is that it makes the choice easier for your customer. And the key is that once you set it up, and you put your photos in there, and then you go through, and the key is you need to get your reviews, excuse me, from your customer, because that person generates your traffic. And when you get those reviews, and if you can get them in the 5, if you get them 2, you get them what you get, what you get, but you always ask for it. And I have it on my email. I have it on my card that goes into the bag. If you like my service, please give me a review. Periodically, well, quarterly, I should do it more. If I have new additions to my businesses, I look at my Google reviews and I say, oh, I did this big job for somebody. Like I just did one for the Humane Society. So I did this job for them. I'm going to ask them to review that. When they do that, what that does is it ticks you up to the top. So now the choices for your customer are right there for them. And we all know that nobody in this day and age is going to search beyond one fling. So you want to be up there. You don't have to buy those. People assume like, well, somebody will call you up and say, hey, I can get your SEO up on your Google. And when Google calls and says, we see that, don't pay attention to that. It's not true. Do it on your own. You will get those accolades, and your search will be at the top. Now, when you're posting on there and you're putting your photos in, it's a lot like Instagram. You want to put your keywords, like I just did the horse jacket, and so I put equestrian or that sort of thing. You want to put your keywords in there so that when people are searching, because the other thing too is when people are searching, you got to think about, how is my granddaughter Gracie, who is 4, wants to find, lunch. I want tacos near me, or, name on a jacket near me. They don't understand the technical. You got to really think in your head about what is the lowest common denominator of how they're going to search for you. And, what are all the things that they're going to go through to get to you? So the other thing nice about Google Business is you'll get a monthly report, and you'll see how many calls you get. And you'll see how many people have searched for that thing. You'll also see how many people are going to your website. Now, my website, I have never been a big fan of the website thing, because I think more people need to like come to you, and or social media is taking care of a lot of that. But with Google Business, it showed me that there are people that are clicking onto that. They're going and looking at that. And so now I go and look at what that customer was looking for, and then it shows where they clicked. Then I can get a better idea of how I need to fine tune the website so I'm not wasting money. Then it also tells me how many people search for directions. So they actually looked to see where I was. Now, I do have my physical space on there, but it does also say, please call for an appointment, because I never know who's coming or going. And then it also has, if they go directly to my Facebook page, in my Facebook page, they can look and book an appointment. So they all kind of mesh together. So the Google Business is coming first because they're searching for me. They're not searching for me on Facebook. And when they get there and they go to my Facebook page, perhaps, because they're like, oh, that's where she's at here, then they can schedule. So they're kind of all intermesh. And the key is to take a look at those reports. You're getting those reports. You can also look at it, on your website if you're a web guy, or if you're doing your own thing. We all know that. But in this case, I can go, and if I run an ad, like I say, 10% off or whatever, if I was doing something particular, then I can see how that worked also. I could turn it on, turn it off. There is a fee for those when you get those clicks. So you got to figure out what your budget is for that. You got to be mindful of that. But a basic Google Business profile is, you can just put it in there and go, pretty plain, So that's how that works. And I think a lot of small businesses don't realize just how valuable it is.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. I want to stop you before you go any further, because you said a couple things and I just want to clarify.
Okay.
Number one, you said reviews are really important, and that the more reviews you have, the higher you can rank in the search, in the organic search.
Correct.
Question about that would be, is it the number of reviews or the quality of reviews that gets you ranked?
It gets the quality. If you're up there in the 4 and 5 stars, I mean, if you get a 1 star, it's gonna show up. If you get a 2 star, if you get a disgruntled person, it's going to show up on there. And your best thing you can do is reply in a professional manner. If they don't quit, then you ignore them, because the nature of the being is, to stir the pot. But I think at some point you just need to just stop, because nobody looks good after a while. But
right. Well, yeah.
When you want to be the best person you can be, and provide the services that you need to provide, and have good customer experience. It's a full circle. If somebody walks into your brick and mortar and they don't get recognized, and you ignore them and walk around, or your employees are not talking to them, that shows up on Google Business. Because if they Googled you and showed up at your store and they put that down, I went in, I wanted this, I wasn't acknowledged, I wasn't waited on, I had to go find somebody, those things really affect your business. So that is a really good litmus test to make sure that you're training yourself and your employees to recognize people as they come in the door.
Okay, so it's not the number, it's the quality of the reviews.
Quality. Yes.
Which is what I figured, because it doesn't really make sense that, hey, they got 51 star reviews and they show up at the top. But I just wanted, in case there were other people wondering, I wanted to ask that question.
Right. And thank you for asking, so we can clarify that. So they're not just having random reviews, they're not having, Uncle Bob write a review every day.
Yes, which people do, and it doesn't work. But
It doesn't
and
work.
then the second thing that I wanted to talk about, and I love that you did say ask for reviews, and you talked about that. This is not the second thing I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to say this. I love that you talked about that you have it on your cards and you have it on the inserts that go with the jobs you do and all, to please go and leave a review if you liked my work. And I
Hmm.
think that people miss asking for that, and it's such an important way. And it doesn't matter whether it's a Facebook review or a Google business review or whatever it is. It's
Hmm.
Google takes all that stuff into account. Reputation matters with
Yes.
Google a lot more than it used to.
Yes.
So, largely because there are sites out there that are crap and got in trouble.
Right.
So be aware of that. But that's a segue from the second thing that I wanted to talk about, which is the fact that you talked about analytics. And I
Hmm.
think analytics are so important. And the fact that you can get them from Google Business and see what people are looking at, how they're getting to you, what they're clicking on if they go to your website. I love that. And I
Yeah.
want to talk about that a little bit more just because I think analytics are something that another thing that people kind of neglect sometimes. They either don't know about them or they don't look at them enough.
Analytics for me were the equivalent of, and don't fall off your chair, were the equivalent of looking at spreadsheets for business sometimes. It's just all this information that I didn't really understand exactly how it
Mhm.
all went together until I spent time learning it. Now, to clarify, with your Google monthly information, you get how many people went to your website, and then it kind of follows through in there. You can dig deeper if you want to, but I just get the overview. But when it
Mhm.
comes to analytics, it kind of helps you, because I found out that the majority of my customers were literally must have been in their cars, because of the fact that they did it on maps.
Mhm.
And secondly, they were looking for embroidery, and then they would look at the pictures, and then the pictures that you post, you can see how many people looked at that picture. So you can immediately see who's searching, what's the most important thing they're searching for on your Google business site. Because if you have let's say you're a school store and you have a school backpack, and 250 people looked at that, that that's 250 people that are looking for that. And then off to the
Right.
side, you might have some embroidered, monogram towels, and 5 people looked at it. You go, okay, well, that's not what people are looking at for me. So do I spend more money over there, or do I spend more money advertising that? Is that something that I'm missing? Is that a revenue that I'm missing?
I
So
like that.
yeah, so that's a lot of times how I can gauge whether or not I'm going to even bother chasing that product, you
Mhm.
know? So that's where that is. Now when it
Well,
comes to
and that's such a valuable tool because you only have a limited amount of dollars to spend. So if
correct.
they're looking at the backpacks and the backpacks are appealing and at least hooking people's interest enough that they're looking at them,
Hmm.
spend more money there and don't
Right.
spend the money on the monogram towels or, I mean, and that sounds like, oh, gee, really? Do you think? But a lot of people don't do that calculation.
Right. Well, and then on the flip side, don't don't be heartbroken when what you find as your passion that you're posting on. Like for example, my art coats and that on Google Business, it's not what they're looking for. Nobody's sitting at home and going, I want a beautiful fancy coat. That's not that customer. Doesn't mean
Mhm.
I'm not going to put it on there, because it shows my skill and it shows opportunity, but that's not the customer for that. The customer for
Right.
that is over on Instagram. They got all day to go, oh, I want to wear that, that sort of thing. But then I had to take a pill, to see that, to see that, something that you put that much time and effort into, it get like 5 looks, and then down in the
Mhm.
bottom, you got the wedding sash that says, when I was doing that, it was like 400 people, and I'm like, nah.
Mhm.
But
Well, but what I love about what you just said is that you put the thought into finding the platform that had the audience that was going to want the thing. I
right,
mean, you know me, I love your art coats. I'm still looking for the perfect purple coat or
right,
cloak to have you do your magic on. But you're right. Google Business is probably not the place that people are looking at when they're going, I want to spend $500 on this really cool personalized coat,
right, right.
or however much. I have no
They're
clue what you
they're,
charge, but
they're literally going, and all the embroidery will get this joke. I've got Uncle Bert's old VFW jacket, and I want Bert taken off and put my name on
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So there you go.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
No, there's nothing wrong with that.
that's the bread and butter
Yes.
that keeps a lot of people with machines gets those needles moving up and down.
Right. My widget work pays for my playtime.
Right. And I
Right.
think but I really want to make that point that you put some thought into where the audience is for whatever the thing is, which I think some people don't do. And you were smart enough to figure out that, okay, this is a specialty product and it's going to have a different audience than, I mean, let's face it, the population of people who are going to want to buy bride sashes is probably bigger than the
Oh,
population of people that are going to want personalized coats.
right. Right. But then, in the realm of all the people that are doing, t-shirts, embroidery, whatever you're
Mhm.
doing for your embellishment, that customer that you are probably going to be more than likely face to face with in your area is there. They're going to be definitely on your Google Business, because that's where they're
Mhm.
searching. And then they're also going to be on your Facebook. But 90% of the people, I feel, this is my personal opinion, I don't have, charts and graphs about it. When they
Right.
sit down to Facebook, they're not sitting down and going, oh, where is an embroidery shop near me? You know how they do it? They get on there and they go on there and they go, who recommends somebody? Who do you recommend? And that customer is really immediate, because now you're going with the people that are immediately in your area. But the person
Right.
sitting searching for it at their desk or at their event or at the soccer field, they're on the phone, and that's how they're doing that. They're letting their fingers do the walking. Do you remember that model? We're still having that.
Oh boy, are we old. Um
Hey, we should bring that back. We should, people
uh
should do that.
yeah, I don't know. I don't
Let your
know. It's
scrolling do
more
the walking.
scrolling, but I guess it kind of has the same vibe to it. But
Yeah.
I think that you're right. I mean, I have seen on Facebook, and more Facebook than most of the other social media platforms, where people will say, I'm in Stacy, Minnesota. Does anybody know somebody who does embroidery near here? Or I'm in Traverse City, Michigan. Does anybody know like a really amazing marketing guru in Traverse City? Um,
I
you
do.
know,
I know somebody
but
in Traverse City.
yeah, but well, yeah, you do know somebody in Traverse City, but I think that you have to be aware of how the venue gets used too. So that's another point. You're just making so many good points today. I just love
Oh,
this.
I'm in a roll.
But it's I think that's something that you need to be aware of, is how people use the platform too and what they're using it for. If
Correct.
you're right. If you're on Google Business, you're probably on your phone, as I used to do when we travel to trade shows, Googling where's the best burger near me, or
Right.
where's the best craft brewery near
Right.
me, or
Right.
whatever it is.
Right.
And if I'm on Facebook, I'm not doing that as much.
Right. And like, I like, some people use Yelp for their business, but I just didn't like the format that Yelp had. It was not something, and that may be my bad. Maybe I'm missing the boat there, but I felt it was more geared for the entertainment industry, and
Yeah,
not
that's
so
always
many
been.
service. Yeah. So there's that. So like for me, it goes, like LinkedIn is business, Facebook is social and personal, Instagram is art and creative, Pinterest is ideas, because basically I've found that Pinterest is what people go to look for ideas. They're
Mhm.
not purchasing, but they've got an idea in their mind of what they want to do themselves or have somebody do. And that's an idea board for them. It's like a vision
Well,
board.
and that's why I have long maintained that I think a lot of decorators are missing the boat with Pinterest,
I am missing the
because
boat with
I
Pinterest.
don't think, well,
Me.
okay. I agree with you somewhat that it may not necessarily be where you buy from, though I
Right.
think they have upgraded their ability to purchase directly from pins. It's better now
Yes.
than it used to be.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a place where decorators can set up boards to show what they can do for specific events or holidays or whatever it is. And like you said, give people ideas if
Right.
they're planning their wedding, if they're looking to do something for a family reunion, if they want to do, you know, I don't know, whatever it is.
I did when I was manufacturing mittens. Pinterest was very important for the mitten company because the fact that people were looking at that as examples.
Mm-hmm.
So that always translated so much better for that particular part of my business, and not so much the overall everyday embroidery, but the
Right.
mitten end of it was huge off of Pinterest, because I would post all the time on there because it gave people opportunity to go, oh, that's that's something I can do, and then they could reach me from there.
Right.
But
Well,
Google Business,
Pinterest, I have to say, is aspirational. And that's what always got me, is that it's the place where, like you said, it's the idea place. It's the
right?
place where people go and they save the things that they want to do. Now, like I said, Pinterest has done a lot of work to make a lot of their pins shoppable so you can buy things.
Yeah, and you can
So
do a
it's,
business. You can do a business profile
oh,
now.
yeah. And I
Yeah,
would, if you're a business, do a business Pinterest because you'll get
right,
better analytics too.
right, right.
But I think there is value to it. Now, I have to confess, I mean, for Linny Penny, we have Pinterest. I haven't done a lot with it yet. It's because I've been busy doing other things, but that's on my list because I think it's a place that we could sell some designs from if it's done properly.
Oh, it's
So,
huge. I just was looking for what was I looking for? Squirrels for an art coat. And when I was like, okay, what kind of a squirrel do I want? Or what does this
mhm,
coat? So when I went online, majority of them were Etsy and Pinterest,
mhm,
because people had posted them, and it was like, well, I don't want that kind of a squirrel. I want this kind of a squirrel, whatever. So they're there for you with Lenny Penny would be huge, I
mhm.
would think, because then they're in the
Yeah, and like I said, it's on my list. It's just one of those things where it's a long list and,
time,
you got to do what you got to do, man.
time. It's all about time.
I'm,
Yeah. And we
yep.
all have so much time. So if it's like, for me, if I'm going to spend my time, where is the time going to not necessarily translate into the most dollar value, yes, but
Mhm,
also the value of um, how much I enjoy doing it.
mhm,
Because if you don't like doing it, it translates. They can see that you're just, you know, ticking the mark. But if you're enjoying it, or if you're finding your niche marketing
mhm,
area, then it's different. It shows. It does show. I don't think I think people assume that personality doesn't come through on things. Oh yeah, it does. You can look at different people's sites, and you can always tell where somebody else is doing it for them. Just like I use Canva, But you know what? A lot of times I opt out of using Canva. And the reason is because of the fact that I don't want to look that polished. I seriously am not that person. You guys are lucky. I did my hair and put some lipstick on today, but for Canva, it almost has a little bit too much of the feel for me of like when you get the brochure from the health company and you got the guy and the lady and the two kids and the golden retriever and they're all, I just don't want to come across like that. So
well, here's my thing with Canva that gets me is that it's becoming the popular thing, and then everybody starts using it, and then everybody's stuff looks the same.
Exactly. The genericing. Yeah. It's like taking a small town and having a Subway, a McDonald's, and an e-cig shop, and and a dollar store. So now you've lost the integrity of your community, and so your page is your community. And when you do that, it gets a little too manufactured and cookie cutter. You will lose. This is my personal feeling. You will lose that interest because I think that 95% of your business is you.
Oh, I would agree.
Because just like when people go to sell their business and say, I can sell my clientele, my accountant always says, the people that are buying your business are not buying the clientele, they're buying you, and you're not going to be there. So when you're creating your social media, you really need to translate as yourself. And if that means, you're like Christine and I, and we have, flowery language occasionally, or a sense of humor. If you have a sense of humor, do it. If you're not humorous and you're all about facts, be that person. So
I agree. Well, and people ask me that when I do seminars or whatever, and people come up to me afterwards and they'll go, well, I'm not really that outgoing, or I'm much more technical or whatever. And I'm like, well, then be that. If that's what you are, right, that's fine. Fine. There's an audience out there for that. And there are people who will like that and want to work with someone who is that. And this myth that we can be something that everyone's going to like and everyone's going to want to work with it's awful. And I wish it would go away, because you are never going to be, unless you are either so bland. Well, even if you're bland, there are going to be people that's like, they're too boring, I don't want to deal with them. You're just never going to be someone that everybody is going to like and want to work with. It's just not going to happen. And I think we need to get over that idea that you need to be, and yes, I'll put my hand up. There are things that I don't necessarily talk about on the business pages, or I don't talk about on my profile because I feel like it's too controversial, or it's going to open a can of worms that I don't want to open, or whatever it is. And I am aware that I am representing businesses and I need to be aware of that. But I'm me, and I won't work with people who don't want me.
Right.
And luckily, I have found people who do want the weirdness that I bring to the world.
You should come to a board meeting sometime with me. Woohoo!
Oh God.
Yeah. Well, and that's the word social media is the key word. It's social. So you need to put forward yourself. And you need to look at all your different platforms and work with them accordingly. So if you feel you're really not really artistic, and you look at Instagram and you go, I can't put in there. Well, so you're technical. So then go ahead and make a video of you actually doing something, speed that up and show it. That's your forte. That's what you love doing. Do that. If you were like, I want to take my stuff out and set it up and, photo shoot it and, hire a $100 an hour, I wish, model to wear my
I was going to say, where are you finding a model for $100 an hour?
So there's that. So you have to, you know, planning is everything.
Mhm.
Sitting down and really looking at what do I want to accomplish here and writing it down. Um, that's something that is doable. Now,
Mhm.
segue,
Uh-oh.
we have in the women in garment decoration.
Oh, yeah, I think I have a link for that somewhere. Let me
Okay,
see.
so in there we have the first Monday of the month is our um, power of three. And if that's something you need to focus on, we can work on that. And it's just an hour at noon, the first Monday of the month. And you choose three things to work on. And if social media is the thing that you're struggling with, then pick that. And then we break it down. We just keep breaking it down into where you need to focus on. But you gotta take the time to create the foundation for it and then
Mhm.
spend time with it. By the way, it's free. It's just you get to listen to me babble on for an hour. Okay. So no, you guys get to talk too when you join. But it's really helpful.
You
So
guys get to talk to. Selling point.
yeah. I don't want to listen to Carolyn for an hour. No.
Oh, I've listened to you for an hour. I've
Okay.
had people listen to me for an hour. I'm more. So,
That's right. So yeah, but that is something that you know it takes a little time. It takes a little map out, and then if it doesn't work out for you, it doesn't work out. But you have to find where your social media niche is
mhm.
and work with it
Well,
from
and
there.
I think really you have to be aware that it is an investment. It's like anything else. If you just want to be on social media for fun,
Hmm.
if you're just doing it for personal and you just want to share pictures of your kids with, your parents and your relatives and stuff like that, then do whatever you want to do. But if you're going to use it for business,
Right.
it is a different ball game. And there are different rules and there are different, not rules, I don't want to use that word. There are different requirements. Let's put it
Right.
that way.
Right.
And I think that it is going to take some time. And as I always tell people when I lecture about it, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. If you're going to do
Right.
it, be prepared for the fact that it's going to take you a while to get traction. And
Right.
if you think you're going to put up a profile on Monday and have, 50,000 people following you by Thursday, I don't know how you think you're going to manage that, but, you go.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And if you have a hard time thinking to yourself, well, that's wasted time. If sometimes people look at it and go, God, that's a waste of my time. I'm wasting time sitting here doing this. Think of it this way. So you need to generate so much per hour for your shop. And so if you're going to go, I'm going to invest an hour a week or 5 hours a week or 1 hour a day, whatever it is, you take that and you break that down into money because you are of some value of
Mhm.
for that. That is an investment, just like you're writing a check. You're writing a check of your time. So if you're going to spend that money, then spend it where it's going to hit its mark. And then you will feel also better about doing it because it's not mentally viewed. Because when we're sitting in front of the computer and we're looking at social media, our first assumption is like, I gotta get to work and quit dinking around. That's not always really the end result of it. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I just made me laugh for some reason. I don't know why. But what I really like about what you said there is the whole idea of your time has value. And it's also a very, very good reason to keep an eye on your analytics to
Yes.
know how things are performing, because maybe you discover that the platform that you thought was going to be totally worth the investment of your time
Mhm.
isn't.
Right.
But if you, and somewhere that you thought was just, well, I'll try this because, whatever, turns out to be the place that you totally should be. If you
Right.
don't watch your analytics, and I'm getting I can't say it. I'm getting very stern now with my pen. I couldn't say the word I wanted to say. Emphatic. That's the word I wanted to say. Thank you. I was trying to say empathetic, and I knew that wasn't right. Anyway, if you don't pay attention to your analytics, you don't know if the investment is paying off.
Right.
And then you don't know where the investment is paying off. And that's the other half of the thing, is a lot of the problem that people have with social media is they are wasting time because they don't know their numbers.
Yeah, they don't know if the time spent there is even of value to them.
Right. So,
then you're just
analytics, people, analytics, I'm telling you.
Yes. Yeah. So get on Google Business, take a look at it, and make sure you also claim that business. Because if you haven't done anything with it, it's kind of sitting there, but you can go ahead and say, yeah, that's mine. And then it'll ask, is this business open? Is it closed? All those things. And then you can put some parameters in there. But at least go check it out. Find out if anybody find out.
And honestly, I thought about, doing a little banner with the Google Business thing and putting it up on the bottom of the screen. But honestly, it's Google Business. Go to friggin' Google and type in Google Business. You can find it.
Right.
It's not, this is not rocket science, people.
Right.
We're
Better
good.
yet, sit down and go to your phone and go embroidery shops near me and see if you pop up. Screen printing near me. See if you pop up. Gift shops near me. See if you pop up.
Yeah.
See where you're at. If you got a little red dot pin mark on there, go in there, click on it. And if it has no picture and a street view, well, that's always the best when you just have nothing but a street view. No logo. No, what if Google decided to go by your place on Street View and there was, that was the day you gutted your shop and there's a 15-foot pile of 2x4s out front and some pegboard. Oh, shit.
Ooh, nice. Well, and I mean, you make a good point, though, that if you haven't claimed it, then if people are looking and you do pop up, you're not going to present your best face forward. So claim it and make it look like, I mean, let's be honest. These days, if you Google a company, if they don't have a website, then you're like, oh, well, I'm not dealing with them.
Right.
I mean, honestly, I will not call people anymore. I'm like, if you don't have a website and I can't see what you're doing, then I'm not going to bother with you because I'm not getting on the phone. What is this? Like the 1980s?
I know. And I did that too, where I Googled something and it was like this empty lot with a tree in it. And I'm like, how could this be right? But then I looked and it was an old photo. And yes, it was developed now. Really? What? You're not even going to look at that? So, there's just so many factors that you are ultimately, you yourself are ultimately responsible for the image you put out there. And
truer words were never said.
You are the end result. Nobody else is going to do it. And if they do it and they claim it on you, and now that's another whole show trying to get that back. So
yeah. So let's not even go there because that's just a nightmare that we don't need to deal with.
No,
but I definitely agree. Go check out Google Business if you haven't. Claim your listing if you haven't, and do what you can to make it look current and like it's a prosperous business that people are going to want to visit and do business with. And we are, hard to believe, since we both talk so much, we are at an hour. And I'm going to call it because I know us. And if I don't call it, we will go for another 45 minutes. And I ain't got time for that, man.
We got to spend our money wisely.
Yes, we're going to spend our money and our time wisely. Thank you to everybody who listened to us today. We appreciate it so much. I didn't even bother with comments because we were going along so well. I was like, let's just keep it calm. And but we appreciate you being here as always. And tune in for another edition of We Don't Know What next week, but it'll be fun.
I think we did great for not knowing what.
You know, we did really good for me going before we started. I got no plan. We're just going to talk about Google Business and whatever else happens. And it worked. So yay us. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Thank you, as always, to everybody who is supporting this show on Buy Me a Coffee and Patreon. I love you guys. We would not be here without you. And I'm going to hit end broadcast now before I keep talking some more.
Okay. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.